Hey all, for the second time today. The date is still June the 11th, 2010. Now it's about 9:30 at night here in Singapore, which means about 9:30 in the morning back on the east coast of the US and in North Carolina. I'm back in because one, it's dark outside, so there's really no place I could go. And two, well, really, that was the only reason. Anyway, I'm back in here, but there was another topic I really want to talk to y'all about that I didn't have the time to talk to y'all outside because I said it was getting really hot, and I felt like my computer was going to overheat sitting out in all that heat. But the topic was actually about race, and I know sometimes I personally feel like I bring race up a little bit too much in my life, but it's just something that I noticed. But here, I noticed it just as much, especially since Singapore is a lot like America, and America is a very racially driven country. And I feel like in many ways Singapore is also, even down to the fact that like Chinese are like the majority and they run everything, and the Malays and the Indians are in the minority, and as a result, they work lesser jobs and stuff like that. And the fact that it's a hierarchy, but there are a couple of incidents that I want to talk to y'all about in this entry that really made me think about race in here and in the rest of the world. The first one was last week. I was in the canteen after class. Well, no, it was before class. It was before class because none of the stalls were open. There were like 20 stalls, and only three of them were open. And the food in those three wasn't even that good. So I went upstairs because upstairs is a place that's not as explored as the places downstairs, kind of off the beaten path. And I found this sandwich shop called Olio, Olio. And I went and proceeded to order my food, and the man that was ringing me up was an older Chinese man. He looked probably about 45, 50 at the absolute most. But he rang me up and he looked at me and he could tell that I wasn't from Singapore. I mean, if my skin didn't give it away, I don't know what else did. So he asked me where I was from, but actually he asked it as, "Are you from Nigeria?" He asked me in a Chinese accent, of course, "Are you from Nigeria?" And I thought that was really interesting because me being an African American, I can look at myself and I can tell you that I don't think I look Nigerian at all. There are subtle differences between like Africans and African Americans, but I was taken aback because no one had ever asked me a question like that before. Because in America, they just assume you're just black. And I feel also that they can look at me in America and tell that I'm not straight from Africa. But nevertheless, I told him that I was indeed from the United States. And he looked at me and repeated, "You went, United States?" And I said, "Yes, the United States." And he said to me, "Oh, I thought that was just for the white man." And that really caught me by surprise. I really thought that was shocking and telling because, as westernized as Singapore is, and you can tell when you look at pictures and stuff, not necessarily just from me talking about it as much as if you look at pictures of the place, I would think that no one would really have that opinion of America as being just for the white man. I actually told him that people of all races are actually in America. There's people that look like me, people that look like him, and when I said people that look like him, he looked kind of shocked. But yeah, that just set in motion in my mind a kind of a thought process on race in general, in addition to the fact that we've been talking about race here, because that's only the first, well, only one of many incidents where I've been asked questions and looked at out of curiosity, and I don't really mind it. As long as it's not out of hate, I really don't mind it. And another example, what happened to me was there's a supermarket at Prince George Park Residences just downstairs. As a matter of fact, it was to the left of where I did my last entry. And I needed to go down there about 30 minutes ago to get some raisins. I really like raisins, sun-made raisins. And I haven't been eating a lot of fruits and vegetables here anyway because the food here is just so different. I've been kind of scared to venture, especially on my own dime. If it's someone else's dime, okay. But mine, yeah. So I went to the supermarket to buy some raisins, and I saw there's a lady who works there, and I guess she's Chinese also. She doesn't look really dark enough to be Malay. And I met her actually a week ago, but the raisins incident made me think of this incident I want to tell y'all about. So I was I went in there for something. It was at night. I went in there and she was working and she saw me once again, saw my black skin, knew I wasn't from here, and asked me, well, where was I from? And I told her I was from the United States, from UNC. And she asked me how long had I been here and all these questions. And she said, well, I haven't seen you around here. Of course, with an accent yet again, but I feel like it's kind of derogatory to imitate her. So yeah. So she asked me with her accent. I hadn't told me that she hadn't seen me, and I said, "Well, I've been here, and I'm gonna keep being here." So now every time I go in there, she makes it a point to speak to me, which I really like. It's more personal, but I think it's interesting because I know had I been of Asian descent or even white, she wouldn't have noticed me as much because honestly, there are hardly any black people here. I've seen probably about 30 my entire time here. And I was telling somebody on the phone that the Africans that are here, because not no real African Americans, but the Africans that are here, because that's who's here of African descent, they're all dark. So I was saying to this person that there are hardly any light skinned people, and light skinned people here would probably not even be recognized. They'd probably really be staring at light skinned people because they'd be trying to figure out what their ethnicity is. So yeah, but back to the lady. So she talks to me and and she did talk to me when I got my raises, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, those are a couple incidents. Also, I went to Little India for the for the first time this week, and I was keeping in my mind what Taylor, the other black person on this trip. Side note, look at her blog. It's taylorandtheisland.wordpress.com. Check out her blog; it's really good too. Back to what I was saying. I was keeping in mind what she was saying about how she was looked at really funny when went to Little India. She felt really uncomfortable about the how she was being viewed, and I think she felt like because she was a black female and tall and dark, they really did not look at her in a good way because of the caste system in India. And I just thought it was really interesting how their caste system transcended to us as African Americans. We're not even Indian from India, we don't even derive from there. And yet, to a degree, their caste system uh, kind of was imposed on her. But my time is running out, so catch the next piece of this entry, and I'll tell you about my trip to Little India, how it was similar and how it differed from Taylor's. See y'all in a few.